Let's take a look at one of our example arguments and see if we can figure out what pattern is it that they're all following is a valid pattern. The example that we'll take a look at is either you study hard or you fail the course. It's not the case that you studied hard, therefore you failed the course. And when you look at the pattern, I think maybe we can describe it this way. Premise one, the first premise, says either one statement, statement number one is true, or another statement is true, statement number two is true. The statement either you studied hard, statement number one, statement one, number two, you failed the course. Then the second premise says that the first statement is not true, and from that we conclude that the other statement, statement number two, was true. So that's a way of describing the pattern. And now let's just take this a little bit further. And what do they all have in common? What do all these arguments have in common? Well, let's take a look at the first one. And we see that if we replace the American League one with a rectangle, either the rectangle or, and now we're going to replace the National League one with an ellipse, either the rectangle or the ellipse. It's not the case that the rectangle, therefore, the ellipse is true. And as we did last time, and don't get nervous about that, let's just replace these sentences with kind of names, shorthand symbols for them. Replace the rectangles with a P's, the circles with a Q, so it's either P or Q. It's not the case that P, therefore Q. P or Q. It's not the case that P isn't true, not P, therefore Q. And we'd say this is now the pattern or the form of the argument. And the thing that we notice is any argument that's of this form, either the first thing or the second thing, it's not the case the first thing, therefore the second thing, any argument that follows that pattern is valid. That is, the logic is good. It's a good deductive inference. Does that mean that the argument is good? What's your answer? This is a test again. Good argument is the same as sound argument. Sound argument needs two things: validity, good logic, and facts. Okay, the pattern only gives us the logic, that the logic is good. So any argument of this form certainly is valid, but to decide if it's a good argument, you still need to look at the facts, something that we'll come back to later as we're evaluating arguments.